it is the red Zerg player, Scarlett.
And spawning over in the northeast side of Ice and Chrome, it is Ting's Neeb.
Dreams, baby.
You actually had me have to look at the title just because I was like, it is Ice and Chrome, right? And I was like, oh yeah, it is Ice and Chrome. Like, for sure, for sure. It's getting late here, cats. It's getting late here, you know? Oh.
Of course.
So, hatch blocking here for Neeb. I like it. I like it. Doing it with the probe. Scarlett, not affected though, just moves over to the third base to plant down her hatchery to get things started.
Yeah, it's always very, very annoying for any Protoss players looking to do this, because I've been learning a little bit of the basics, and if you want to get down this hatch block, usually a 13 pylon on the low ground, or just pulling one of your probes across and then making a 14 pylon with a subsequent probe will do it. But you got to pull one of your first probes and start walking it across the map. So it's pretty important, actually, because it's a thing that you can consistently do just about every game to deny the most common, the most go-to Zerg opener from happening, which is a hatch at the natural, and the third at the hatch at the third is much more annoying, I find, to play of a position for a Zerg player. Yeah.
Oh yeah, certainly. Like in the past, when I've seen the hatch on the third location, like creep spread between the bases is obviously a bit harder to get going, but it can really signal and really ignite the fire in the Protoss to do openings like the Adept Glaives, given that the bases are not as well connected as they usually would be.
Yeah, exactly. So Adepts gain value. Oracles, for the same reason, fast units that don't care about pathing will gain some value as well. And just overall, I mean, if you look at the drone transfer, that's so much mining time lost that you don't want to be losing, right, when transferring on over to that base. Of course, Zergs are kind of used to this, to the point where, you know, the state of the balance is where it is accounting for this. So it's not like Scarlett is behind from it, if that makes any sense. But I almost feel like if you're a Protoss player not doing this, Zerg is almost ahead.
Yeah, and there is that little bit of counterplay, right, where if you know that the Protoss does send one of their first probes, then you can potentially go for like a 15 hatch and stuff, which would then counter it a little bit. Like, there are mind games upon mind games with just the most simple and basic stuff in StarCraft 2.
Absolutely, and we saw this Adept starting with that, looking for the drones transferring instead of trying to go for the main or the natural right away. And now he has a very annoying position here where Scarlett has to be wary of it on two individual fronts, and that means she actually got away with just having two links on either side, which just speaks to her prowess. But most Zergs, you know, if your links are on one side, then you also need to produce links on the other side to account for the Adept now.
There's also some stuff worth mentioning between these two. Oh my gosh, it's a Void Ray. I love it already. So it's a Void Ray follow-up after the initial Oracle, but Scarlett has been a player that's been exceptionally vocal about her hatred for Adepts. So, and I mean, Neeb, he's one of the greatest Adept players of all time. That's kind of one of the things that made him become so good, I feel. Oh, this Oracle, by the way, the fact that Spore was late, but Scarlett actually microed that very well and handled it very well.
Yeah, Neeb actually making a beeline for that third, not really respecting the position of the Queens potentially and the Overlord that he passed by. Kind of understandable because that's the fastest way. So he just assumed no matter which angle I pick, Scarlett's going to be ready. But ends up running into a Queen head first and takes too much damage. So only able to take a kill or two. Let's see if he can get a little bit more out of it. 3 kills, but has to back off. And the Queens are encroaching in. Okay.
I like the hype. I like the hype. Okay, so this Void Ray, it's going to run around. It's going to get a few Overlords here, there. And the Overlord, I mean, rather the... What's it called? The Void Ray just kind of gets the job done of the Phoenix, except it can kind of do it all by itself and a bit faster. Oh, that's quite a bit of damage being done.
Yeah, and it also secures this third because it's so very difficult. If there's a Void Ray out, the hardest decision to make for a Zerg is to make a lot of Roaches, for example, or Ravagers. So just making the single Void Ray kind of keeps you safe. And then you can go Overlord hunting or even applying pressure to a base that doesn't have Queens in there and maybe pick off a drone mining gas or something of the sort. But look at that Spore. She's so good!
Yeah, as a nicer place for. And unfortunately, this Void Ray won't be able to get much more done aggressively. Like, all the Overlords were kept back at home. That was nice upon seeing that. I guess the nice thing for Neeb, though, he gets up this third absolutely uncontested. And so far, he hasn't really had to worry about too much.
Yeah, and that is the main issue of the or the main thing that the Void Ray allows for. But even now, that Void Ray falling, it already allowed for this third to happen, and you know, picked off an Overlord, gathered some information. So Neeb can't be too sad, but of course sucks to lose one of those chunky, expensive units that would be very helpful on defense, especially against roaches.
Yeah, like defense, also a little bit of scouting and stuff, right? Like just getting to see what units cross across the map, because maybe the Oracle isn't always in the right place at the right time doing the revelations and stuff. I did see in Scarlett's previous series against Nina, she loved her Hydra-ling Bane attacks, which it looks like she's opting for in this game as well. Going for ranged attack as opposed to melee. How do you feel about that one?
Yeah, and I'm a little bit actually concerned for the position of Neeb. He's looking to make a very strong push here with Immortal Sentry, lots of energy on those sentries. This is a choky area, so probably just looking for a cancel into a recall or something of the sort. I'm not sure that he's going to look to commit too much. He has seven gateways, I want to say. No, actually 8 gateways, so he can commit if he chooses to. This is a very committed attack. In fact, a lot of Stalkers being warped in. At the same time, Scarlett has Hydras. This is kind of what you want, but does she have enough? Not yet. Good force field will zone out a couple of queens, but actually they end up just being wasted force field as Neeb does not follow through. Those Hydras, though, are gonna be trapped. But a lot of force field spent, and Scarlett cannot be engaging here yet, Ben.
No, like Scarlett, she's got very little army. Where are the Lings? Where are the Hydras? The supply is vanishing, and Neeb, holy crap, that was clean by Neeb. And Scarlett, you see on her face there, that's just kind of like, just disappointment almost, you know, like that was brutal, man.
Yeah, and I would be disappointed as well, because if you're Scarlett, that's kind of the ideal situation as far as army comps are concerned, because Neeb opens with oracles and opens with adepts, right? And if you go Hydras against adepts or against charge slots and go for a timing of sorts, not so great. But against this type of army composition, heavy on Stalkers, heavy on Sentries, even Immortals, Hydra-ling is killer. It's just that Scarlett didn't see the all-in coming, maybe because it's Neeb, which I love the fact that Neeb went for an all-in here in the first place, right? Not something that you expect from him. She tries to get with away with a little bit more greediness and just doesn't have units.
Yeah, and it's all well and good having like these Hydras going and stuff. She was a little bit supply blocked at the start of that push coming as well. And yeah, we talked about how Clem may be a little bit predictable in this TVZ, and players that have learned to really kind of spruce it up. Neeb is also amidst those players that can do multiple things. And as Protoss against Zerg, you have to learn all the openings, right? Like, if you only do one thing, you are way less scary. If your opponent knows what you're going to do before the game even starts, they can start cutting massive corners, which you can't necessarily do that against Neeb.
Yeah, and it's not something that we've been able to say consistently against Neeb. So I think he's in becoming his butterfly stage as well, right? He's in a cocoon emerging stage at the moment, because it's something that I personally wouldn't have expected from him in this match, or maybe perhaps in that first game. And it's Scarlett is also, you know, not expecting this. Neeb is normally the type of player that will take it to the late game, that's very comfortable in the late game, right? Like, there are very few Zerg players, aside from, say, Reynor or Cyril, that will want a late game against Neeb. Yeah,
I mean, like, if you're Scarlett, like, we all know her to be a macro beast. Like, she really is. And that game, killing the Void Ray and stuff, it didn't seem to be going too badly for her, and deflecting the Oracle like she did as well. I'm worried.
No, it seemed great.
I'm worried for Scarlett in this series. If that first game is any indicator of how the rest of it's going to go.
Yeah, I think what we're going to have to see from her is just committing a little bit more to scouting and not taking Neeb for granted, not taking his approach for granted. And maybe that's where a little bit of her... he said something. I'm not sure what.
He's smiling.
I looked at the camera right away, now smiling. That's not a great start. It feels so bad.
It certainly does. Speaking of the man himself, spawning over in the bottom left-hand side, play for Team Ting. It is Neeb.
On the top right-hand side, the Queen of Blades, it is Scarlett.
I can imagine Neeb being like, oh man, in Twitch chat, they're all going to be saying like, NA lol, 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 lol.
Well, now they are, Ben.
Yeah, now they are for sure. I've been watching Clem, Raynor, and Cyril play absolutely beautifully. Then you see me misclick my minerals. Ha ha ha. But anyhow, this probe did get over here, did get his job done, which was blocking the natural hatch, and yet again. And yeah, I just realized as well, Scarlett's actual nickname in game, her clan tag, is Adepted, which,
Yeah.
you know, that's, I feel that the momentum is now well and thoroughly on Neeb's side.
Yeah, definitely. And it's not just a thing that it says on her tag. She actually lost to Estrella, I believe, last season when she thought that Estrella wasn't capable of going Adepts because she had tried to convince him to go Adepts and he didn't, but then he did against her, which was Estrella's brilliant move there. And yeah, I've seen her lose to Adepts enough that, yeah, I can confirm she probably legit hates the Adepts. It's not a bait.
Ah, yeah, I got to cast that series, I think, with Rotterdam, and he had lots of different openings as well. It wasn't just like the 4-gate Adept opening. It was like 5-gate, 6-gate, and we interviewed him after it. It was like, wow, what was the idea behind it? He's like, sometimes you just add one extra and stuff. And it was like, oh, okay. One of those things, you know, where it's difficult to explain, but I mean, it worked out all the way.
Yeah, I think he's the type of player that builds his knowledge from the group. Instead of copying other players, he kind of builds a breadth of knowledge, and then, you know, he has the ability to kind of tinker with that as he goes, Estrella. I am super excited to see him later in the day. He's very adaptive.
Yeah, me too. This game so far, Neeb kind of going for the same stuff, you know, like getting the Stargate out, getting the Adepts out. Very, very normal opening for him. And so far, the maps that they've been playing on as well, like Ice and Chrome and Pillars of Gold, they're very big, macro-centric maps. So I'm looking forward to see what Neeb follows this up with, or unless he's going to go with the same thing, because very often I can be like, oh man, you need to be a bit more versatile. But if it keeps on working, then there's no reason to change, right?
Yeah, maybe not. It's going to be a Void Ray to open things up this time around. So no doubt wants to get rid of the Overlord sitting in his natural. The Adept will not shade. 2 links and the Queen will be enough of a deterrent for now. But yeah, I'm curious to see what Neeb does. I really doubt that we're going to see another Immortal all-in from him. Just because, you know, it's the kind of build that if you scout it, if you see it coming, it's very unlikely to work. And Scarlett, again, she had the perfect response as far as unit choices is concerned. It's just she didn't have enough units. So I think Neeb will somewhat switch it up.
Yeah, like he already has done things in a different order this time, like getting the Void Ray first, then the Oracle. He did it completely backwards the last time.
Yeah.
So, I mean, this Oracle isn't necessarily going to arrive as quickly, but given how well Scarlett deflected it, and I mean, she's already got spores up in the main base, is there one at the 3rd base as well? So yeah, covering all her bases. So this was the right move for me, switching it up just in a little thing like that.
Yeah, I love it because he's also clearing the path for the Adept, and he probably noted that Scarlett made a Void Ray Spore, which is not something, you know, most players will just place the Spore in the middle because that's their default. Scarlett is actively thinking about things like, against Void Rays, I want a Spore more like, more to the side, to the entrance, right? And maybe Neeb is accounting for that. See, he's going to the main, and he will find a spot where the Spore is not. No, please don't! Oh.
You know,
I thought that was his plan. I mean, you could see how my plan was better than his.
This was all worthwhile, Cats. This was all worthwhile. And while you've been talking about that and it all went beautiful, Neeb is actually going up to double Stargate with a carrier production being started. This is what I wanted to see. Like, Neeb isn't the guy that I know is a full NA guy, but he is showing me NA this game, and it is beautiful, man.
It's a carrier rush, then. I wouldn't be surprised if these carriers are used aggressively because they are so very early that they're actually going to be pretty difficult to deal with, especially with the support of a Void Ray and an Oracle. So I would love to see, actually, if they're unspotted, for them to cross the map, because I think they'll be very difficult to deal with.
Yeah. And like, who was it that popularized this build? Was it SOS?
No.
There was some Protoss over in Korea that was doing this and made it look super damn good. I know the first time I saw
Area Rush?
Yeah. Like doing 2 at a time like this. And
aggressively.
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool.
They kind of wait until they get 4 and then they go, but we'll see what Neeb chooses to do, because...
I mean, the path is clear. I would love to, do this.
Yeah.
Just, it all syncs with the Void Ray, right? Like, we thought the Void Ray... I really thought the Void Ray was, bait for the Spore partially, at least, for the Oracle. But it did much more than that. It cleared the path for these carriers as well, right? So they will go across the map unspotted. I'm surprised that the Void Ray and the Oracle aren't joining them. The Lynx will finally see them, but it's a little bit late. That fourth hatch, very unlikely to survive.
No, I mean, how many queens are alive? There are 6, and we all know how good Transfuse is, but yeah, there's 3 more queens immediately being made. There is Hydralisk tech already on the way, but that 4th base, that 4th hatchery, not looking too healthy, and oh my gosh, it's going to go straight onto the queens, actually.
Yeah, there's no more Transfuse either. This is the last queen that has any Transfuse. A lot of Interceptors will fall. Again, I am surprised that the Void Ray and the Oracle aren't here to output a little bit more damage. A lot of these queens will fall. But with the Spore, actually, Scarlett will push back these carriers. Not before they get, good damage done.
This was very strange. This was super strange. I mean, quite a few patches ago, those interceptors only cost 5 minerals, but now they're a little bit more pricey, being 15 each. And I don't think Scarlett's going to be too upset with how it's starting off. And she did get a full scout off of what was going on in the main base from Neeb as well, seeing that this isn't a continuation of Stargate stuff. This is totally different. And I do love that Neeb's going for Storm behind this, because you force Hydras and you get Storm.
Yeah, and I wouldn't have been sad or mad if Scarlett had dropped an Infestation Pit and went for something like a Blinding Cloud, or what is it called?
Microbial Shroud?
Microbial Shroud, yeah, for a Microbial Shroud timing. Just because normally Protoss will tend to skip Storm when they go for carriers very early on, because it's so difficult to keep up the production otherwise, right? And we see that Neeb is actually cutting carriers in order to get those Stormers out. So if there was such a transition, he would be ready.
Yeah, these carriers, do you think they've been worth it thus far? Because, I mean, obviously it was a big...
They really haven't, but Ben, I really think if the Void Ray and the Oracle, I'll insist on this, had been there with the carriers at the start, there's, they just destroy that base and all the queens there. So,
I guess it's not just about the direct damage they did, it's about all the indirect, right? Like, they forced this army for sure. He is getting +1 ranged weapons, so there's always the potential to go back into them, I suppose. But this is a massive attack from Scarlett. She's already at 200 supply, and
but there's no way she anticipates Storms. Storm is going to be huge. That is a very good point, Ben. Yeah, the indirect damage is the information that Scarlett is likely to go for Hydras, and the confirmation that she has gone Hydras, and now Storm is here, and Scarlett cannot push into this. I mean, Storm is just so strong against Hydras. She's going to need better tools.
And I mean, it's such a low-tech army, right? Just Hydras, no casters, and oh my gosh, this is a scary Protoss death ball right here.
Yeah, it's a baby death ball, but it's a death ball no less. I mean, Storm is excellent against Hydralisks. They are extremely slow, especially off of creep. So again, Scarlett is going to need something else, Lurkers or Vipers, or something that makes her... Actually, she's doing all of it. She's getting a Lurker then and adding Roaches, which will also make her army tankier against those Storms at the front.
These stasises that Neeb had set up as well, like the first one only caught a few Lings, but this one, that's a decent little chunk of pretty vital units here. And Scarlett, she's doing a good job of meandering her around. Oh, I like this kind of flank that she's getting set up. That would make it much harder for the Storms to hit.
Yeah, and she's deciding to make a stance around those units as well, right? Not giving them up, because it's a good chunk, like you said. So she's fighting around them and actually finding a great surround. A lot of Immortals, but not enough nearly, and Storm is almost out. I think there's 2 about to be done. There's 1, but a lot of Hydras surviving. Neeb has to catch the Hydras, and he goes for them. Those are the most vulnerable units and the ones that he needs to clear in order for the carriers to clean up. At the same time, there is a little bit of a counter attack, but definitely Scarlett getting the better of this.
Wow, I think she just did it. I think she just broke Neeb entirely, and his fourth base is going down. His counter attack did nothing, and he's 70 supply behind. And did you see, by the way, when she went for the attack the first time, he triggered, or rather she triggered, the battery overcharge there from Neeb. So Neeb used it, and then she didn't attack at all. Then it wasn't ready for the actual attack. It was really good play by Scarlett.
Yeah, amazing repositioning onto the more open area where Storm is, she didn't want to come through a choke onto the third of Neeb, and instead identifies and says, when you take a fourth, or if you're taking a fourth, that space is much more open, and that's where she sets her attack to happen instead, where Storm is not going to be nearly as effective, and she takes a very impressive game number 2. So we'll be back very soon with the rest of this amazing series.
Hello guys, welcome back to North American DreamHack, where we're going to get right on into the third game actually between Scarlett and Neeb. And guys, you might be thinking, oh my gosh, we're in the grand finals already? No, this is the lower bracket final between these players, where Estrella is actually the one waiting for the victor of this series. Currently we're at 1-1 and getting right into Everdream.
Oh man, Everdream is going to be a fun map. Scarlett is the type of player who could utilize those that rich Vespin Geyser. She has so many tricks up her sleeve, and that's why she is so very dangerous at any level for anyone at any given point in time. We are all tied up, and now jumping into this third game. And on the top right-hand side, it is the undisputed king for now of America. It is Neeb!
And if Neeb is the king, then this is the queen. Spawning over in the bottom left-hand side, it is Scarlett.
But I guess for you, the queen is more powerful.
Absolutely.
Oh, wow. But you voted Neeb.
Hey, man, just keeping things spicy, you know?
True.
I went for the underdog.
Alrighty. So once again, we have a hatch block on the side of Neeb. I think this is just to be expected. It's, again, when it doesn't happen, I feel bad for the Protoss almost, because it's a strong advantage, I think, to get for the Zerg. So it's a thing that if you're a Protoss player looking to deny this opening, it's a thing that you should very well or very much incorporate into your playstyle, I think.
Oh, definitely. And is he doing it with pylon block, or is he doing it with like one of the first probes? I didn't actually get to see.
Oh, it's always going to be one of the first probes pulled. So it should be one of the first probes right after it mines like once. You can send it and it'll block. If you do a 13 pylon, that works. Otherwise, you can just send the first probe across and then make a 14 pylon with another probe, you know, later on.
Okay, so this map. So some things that I know about this map, but you're going to hopefully explain more things. So some things for the... Oh, wow, losing the probe there. Neeb's early game hasn't been the greatest so far in this series, be it like, you know, misclicking minerals and stuff. But the fourth base is a rich Vespane gas, which, you know, Zerg usually do expand a little bit quicker than Protoss in this matchup. In all matchups, actually. But... yeah, that can definitely be utilized by Zerg for heavy things like big Roach Bane attacks, Banes in general. Like lots of Zerg units require a lot of gas. But other things, like, are there advantages on this map for Protoss?
It's difficult to say. Honestly, I really like that fourth Zerg for all the reasons that you're mentioning. I think that like Ravager Bane heavy styles are very strong on this map, partly for that reason. And also the fact that the fourth base is so very open makes it a playground for Zerg, whereas it's not an easy fourth base for Protoss to take for that same reason, right? The Zerg, imagine a Zerg army there, that's where a Zerg army wants to be, in the open.
Sorry, I was just taking a big swig of my water right there. But yeah, okay, so Neeb's actually going for a Twilight Council this game. Now, this could still be something crazy like Blink and 2 base. Most likely not, and yet will be Adept Glaive. So this feels like Neeb's bread and butter going on into this game. Okay, so getting some scanning done with the Adept. Going for 2 additional gateways thus far. And right now, this is all very, very standard.
Yeah, the gas oversaturated in the main of Scarlett. Perhaps just temporarily waiting for that Adept to leave. But yeah, Glaives is gonna be one of Scarlett's nightmare, but she will spot it promptly and the chrono boost on it as well. So we see a Roach Warren as a reaction. I would love to see, if she hates Adept so much, drop a Spine or 2. I like 2, most pros don't like 2. As a disclaimer, most pros like 1 or none. So we'll see what Scarlett decides to do here.
This is weird though, right? Like he only has 3 gates with this. Like normally the pressure is with 3, and does he have a robo even? This is really weird, no?
Yeah, it might just be a fake actually, playing off of Scarlett's fears. And I mean, this is the trademark. Oh, love it, man! This is brilliant. I think this is exactly what we've been lacking from Neeb. We saw a little bit of it in the first game, but this is perfect. This is striking fear into Scarlett of saying, "Hey, I'm going for the Adept opener that you hate so much." And then he's not really gonna commit to it. Look, even shading back, he's not even gonna commit the first 5 to it. And Scarlett probably thinks this is a much more committed attack, and behind it, Neeb drops 2 Stargates. Now imagine you were as bad as me and made 2 Spine Crawlers instead of 1, Ben. This would be terrible.
Yeah, that would have been really bad. I think what's also cool is they met up with 3 additional Adepts, right? So you still have to respect this. Because it's one of those things that it can deal a lot of damage to you. It's going to be Void Rays. It's not even going to be Phoenix. Oh, it actually goes into the main base with the Adepts.
Okay, yeah, this is surprising. Okay, ballsy indeed, but will not get punished for it, actually. Not fully, at least. A couple more Adepts might fall, just the 1. And Neeb will be able to retreat. Of course, Adepts will lose a lot of their power as the game progresses. I think Neeb has done his job of keeping Scarlett at bay for the time being. And now this Void Ray transition, I love it. Throughout all of this, Ben, Scarlett has just caught up in workers. Neeb has held the advantage in that on that front for a while. And these Void Rays are unspotted, which is why, you know, he's not leading.
Okay, so these Void Rays, I mean, this is new territory for me entirely. What kind of number does he get up to? Because it looks like he's saving them before he moves out. It's going to be 4, is it going to be 6?
Maybe as many as he can get away with, honestly, right? Oh, okay. He decides to go for the Overlord, then it's go time. With this next 2, 4 are going to move across the map almost certainly.
And he's still got a lot of Adepts left over, and going for the 5th and 6th Void Ray as well, but the 4 are moving out. Oh, and okay, Scarlett's going for Hydralis again, and most of these games, I do know that Scarlett likes her Hydras, but she's almost being forced into them each and every time by Neeb.
Yeah, Neeb has had a good follow-up. I mean, it didn't work out last game, but the Storm follow-up was a very curious, cool idea. I mean, the problem for that game, I think, for Neeb is the obvious problem, which is you're diversifying so much in tech. And we see something similar happening here, where it's so expensive to invest into something like Glaives, and then a quick switch into Void Rays. This is why I almost would have liked for him to continue to wait with the Void Rays until they were spotted. Because if you surprise your opponent with, say, 8 Void Rays, and they weren't preemptively going Hydras, that could be the end of it. Of course, if they were going Hydras and you go with 8 Void Rays, that's, you know, you wasted a lot of potential time where you could have been actually doing stuff. So.
But I am actually very scared for Scarlett, because if these Void Rays, or rather if the Adepts shade on top of the Hydras and the Void Rays just march in, because there's no Bailing Nest made actually either. Like, this is very scary.
Yeah, there are no Hydras at the moment, but you're right. That could very well be the plan of attack. I would love for Scarlett to drop a Bailing Nest at some point, or go into Lurkers a little bit faster, because these Adepts are not being spent on the side of Neeb. He is just keeping them as a threat, and if they're not respected, they will shred through Hydras and Links easily.
This very much feels like I'm not watching Neeb at all, which is very cool, because
I love it.
Yeah, he's obviously micro and controlling himself very well, but yeah, Neeb for me is like textbook Protoss player. Like, yes, he has several openings and stuff, but this is very, very left field for me.
I think, Ben, it's because we live quite literally in the era of Raynor. I think that Raynor set the trail for people to just be like, you can't just do the same thing every time. I think that that was when Serral was king, undisputed for so long, and he is the GOAT, okay? In my mind, Serral is the greatest StarCraft player of all time, and Raynor has a little bit of work to get there, and I think he's better right now. But ever since he made his way into the very top, I think players have been mixing it up more, realizing that that is something that you just can't give away, that you just can't be predictable and expect to work from that disadvantage of your opponent knowing what you're doing all the time.
Oh, I'm with you. I'm with you. Like, ever since I started trying to, when I used to play, the Voids. That's 2 Voids biting the dust. Like, that's not as costly as it used to be, but still kind of costly. And just to talk about, like, when I used to copy some of the Terrans when I used to play Pro, it was all about, one thing I realized was, man, they have so many different openings. Like, they always... Yeah. And it was really spicy. Like, Beyond used to be very specific. He would have a set opening for each map, but it'd be a different opening on each map kind of thing. Yeah. But he'd play the map kind of game. So I started trying to emulate that a little bit. This is a very scary army by Scarlett.
Oh, yeah, it is. This is a lot of Void Rays, but the Hydras are very strong. The Adepts need to shade onto them if they want to engage. There is no batteries here whatsoever, no AoE yet, but there are 2 Disruptors coming out if they make their way out, and it's too late. It's not too late for Neeb. He might get the Disruptor shots of a lifetime, because off of creep, these Hydras are gonna very much struggle to split. Let's see, the Disruptor is about to pop up in 3, 2, 1.
Oh, but it marches right into him! Oh my gosh.
Unfortunate. And this is looking grim. There's another Disruptor, though, coming out. It will get a pretty decent shot, but it's going to need a little bit more than that. Now, with the shield batteries, Neeb is going to be able to make a stand. Scarlett pushing strong, and she is doing well behind this. A very nice spread, but Neeb will eventually get to clean up. Not without losses, however. 9 more probes go down.
Yeah, this is... Oh, okay, nice focus fire on the Immortals here, taking them out one by one. The Disruptor shot does finish off the Hydras there, and Neeb holds. Like, I do think that Scarlett was expecting that to just win the game outrightly, but because, I mean, her drone count isn't super high. Like, she's definitely been going for these Hydra timings.
Yeah, that was definitely a timing attack that she was trying to do damage with, and she did. I mean, and she is now on 5 base to Neeb's 3. I think now she can plan for denying the third, perhaps, of Neeb, though she seems to have different plans. She has now gotten extra workers off of this and a hive, so we're going to see a later game where she's not going to be looking to attack. She's probably going to let Neeb situate his 4th, but she's going to have a little bit of a lead going into the later stages of the game.
Yeah, okay. How do you feel about tunneling claws being a weapon of choice here for Scarlett? I'm personally a little surprised that she isn't just going into like a full Ravager Ling Bane composition against what she's up against.
Yeah, I mean, the Disruptors make things very difficult, so I can kind of understand that. Going to the Hive maybe for the Viper transition or something like that. And later into the lurkers. But I do think because it's so difficult to take a 4th base on this map, because it's all wide open spaces, I wouldn't have minded for her to just make a ball of a lot of units and keep crashing onto Neeb. But the game will stabilize, Ben, and it's such a weird army comp here.
It is, and it's difficult, but Neeb has a lot of creep to get through before he can even think about getting to Scarlett. And Scarlett, she's taken up to lurkers here.
Yeah, and Vipers.
Yeah, like the Vipers are really good. In fact, if she can yoink out those Disruptors, this army isn't really that strong at all. And I think the Vipers might catch Neeb totally off guard.
Yeah, I mean, the Vipers can yank. You look at those. It's telegraphed, right? You yank the Disruptors, then Void Rays or Archons, Immortals, and then the rest of the army is nothing, basically. So with that many... Oh, no, Neeb! Oh, no!
Oh, are they going to get... Oh, wow.
Nice shot.
That feeling when you catch Disruptors and the Disruptors catch you.
Yeah. A little bit unfortunate there. And there's the Tunneling Claws being revealed. A big move out from Scarlett. This is another timing yet as soon as she got those Vipers. So we'll see what she's able to accomplish. I like that she's going on this side to the chokier area. It's counterintuitive against Disruptors, but she's highly relying on those Vipers. The Blink was already spent. That is the only defense that Neeb has against these Abducts, is keeping the Stalkers in front and blinking forward to catch those Vipers if he sees the opening for it.
So many Stalkers, actually. What are the upgrades on these guys? It's 2-0, so they are strong. Nice Blinding Cloud to start things off. The Immortals just going forward. Yeah. Oh, nice Abducts as well.
Oh, until that one. Yoinks an Adept instead of a Disruptor, and will be pushed back. This is a huge army for Neeb now. Scarlett now having to try to retreat and restabilize with something like Lurkers as she is getting the adaptive talents for them.
So Scarlett's still maxed out, but she took quite a long time to actually make the units. It was very, very late by her. So Neeb actually has a bit of an army. Oh, what are these Stalkers doing? Man, this is close.
Yeah, I don't think Neeb can push into this because now on creep, the Hydras can actually split and avoid most of those Disruptor shots. Beautiful job by Scarlett on a couple of those. The Lynx now are gonna come and reinforce, and Stalkers, basically Neeb doesn't have very much of anything that deals with Surglings, right? No AoE at all, or Zealots for that matter. So reinforcements of Hydra, somewhat surprisingly on the side of Scarlett, but she maybe thinks that this is already enough of a backbone, and it looks like she will be right.
I think one of the reasons she's committed to the Hydra so hard, they're soon at 3-0 upgrade, so super duper upgraded. Maybe she just sees the Lings as more cannon fodder, just a bit of a meat shielding. I guess she's sort of right. Oh, 8 lurks as well, of course.
Yeah, that's absolutely exactly what that was, Ben. I mean, if you think you're at any risk of dying, you need the Lings. They'll pop out faster and they'll win the fight that you're looking to fight. But if you think you already have enough, and she made the right assessment, then just make the army that's going to transition you better into that base.
Yeah, and Neeb behind all this, he's at 72 pros, which is definitely decent, but his actual army that he has on the field, this is 1 Disruptor, 5 High Templars, 25 Stalkers, 5 Zealots. That is very little tech, and Scarlett, when she's just kind of strolling around with 10 Lurkers and there's not 1 Immortal on the field, I am very worried for Neeb.
Yeah, I mean, Scarlett has played a brilliant game. We talked about how maybe she could have gone for that fourth denial, but going for the Vipers has been incredible, right? Neeb has been forced onto basically just about every tech switch on the ground in this game because Scarlett was one step ahead every time. Now she is coming into this base. It is very exposed, and Neeb will be forced to GG out. Scarlett takes the lead.
Wow. Not something I super expected, actually. It's the play. So from watching the Europeans, you see that you force your opponent into doing something that they kind of don't want to be doing. But these games, it feels like Neeb's forcing Scarlett into mass hydras, when we've seen, even when she doesn't necessarily need to go mass hydras, she goes into mass hydras. So I think Neeb's planning here might not be the super cleanest planning, because for me personally, I'd be like, okay, she loves hydras. What is some workaround here that I can do to avoid that most likely? And so far, it isn't necessarily, I'm going to go adept into mass void ray, or I'm going to go carrier build, stuff like that. You know what I mean? So if I was the coach in Neeb's corner, I'd be like, maybe we avoid some of these strategies, play into her strengths, as opposed to her weaknesses.
Yeah, I think a lot of the weakness of Neeb that we see right now, though, is him developing the new playstyles that we've been praising him for to some degree. He's not gonna be as familiar with how does a game play out when I start with 8 void rays, right? As he would be with his normal stuff. So we see, for example, the disruptors. If they were 5 seconds earlier, all of a sudden he has disruptor shots to go along with holding that very important position that Scarlett takes otherwise and gets very good trades from. So it's very small things that Neeb could optimize in these newer openings, and I think we're seeing him do that and become the best player that he can be, but it's gonna cost him, and it's costing him here for sure.
Yeah, it certainly is, and it's rough, right? Like, I don't know where Neeb's been living necessarily in the past few months or practicing, and also I'm being a bit of a douche in a way, because say if Neeb was 3-0 ahead in the series, I wouldn't be like, Neeb, you're not playing to your opponent's weaknesses here. I'd be like, Neeb, you're a genius. But it's just something that I'm seeing. Like, I know Scarlett is also a player that she goes with themes very often. Like, and the fact that her ZVP has been a lot of Hydra timings. I do think Neeb needs to hone in on that and just make it a bit more difficult for her.
I agree with that, and I love the way that you've put it in terms of themes. I am also a theme-driven player. Like she's the type of player that will constantly evolve her strategies, but for periods of time and for different maps, she has certain themes and for certain metas. And I'm with you. That's what we've been seeing from her mostly. But let's get into this game and do the introductions. As in the bottom right-hand side of the map, it is the blue Protoss player, Tings Neeb!
And spawning over in the northwesterly side of Death Aura, it is Scarlett.
All right. And again, I really think if those two disruptors are out a little bit earlier, Neeb holds that with ease, and then it's a completely different game, right?
Certainly.
Most certainly. Okay. All right. So we see Neeb here denying a little bit of mining. That's just trying to be annoying. He has already blocked the hatchery as per usual. And Scarlett is going to be going for that gas pool, as most Zergs will often do.
Sorry for leaving you hanging a little bit there, Cat.
Oh,
my
okay,
cat just went crazy. I'm on the second floor right now, and the cat was on my window, which is kind of like, what the hell are you doing here? So,
What? That's so scary.
Oh, yeah. Bloody Celine, man. That's my cat's name. She's crazy. Death Wish.
Do you bring it back in somehow?
Oh, yeah. I leapt up. I was very quick to react. She's fine. The cat's good. We're back at DreamHack.
Alrighty. Well, how did you bait her out of the window?
I just opened it, and then she just ran in.
Oh, she was outside.
Yeah.
That's so funny.
That's what I mean. She just popped up. I was like, what the hell are you doing out there?
She was like on the wrong side of the house. That's so funny.
Yeah. So I was like, I'm not even going to say anything. I'm just going to run and save her. But yeah, okay.
Yeah, that's the way.
We're sorted.
All
We're
right.
sorted. Okay, this game
We
looks
are-
familiar. This is the hatch block. Oh man, getting my breath back.
Yeah, and I think quite honestly, Ben, similarly to what we saw in the EU section, with players kind of reverting back to their comfort zones to some regards, I would love for Neeb to kind of just go back to that, because that has consistently won him series against Scarlett. So maybe just play macro and do the more standard openings that you're most comfortable with. Because the experimenting, like you said, it's not as fine-tuned as his norm.
Yeah, and I always feel a little bit critical when I talk about players just in this game, right? Because this is where they're showing me what they think is best and stuff. But I have no idea what their practice went like. So maybe there was a lot of games where you can lose your confidence trying something, and the caster's saying that you should do that, and you're like,
absolutely.
Gosh, damn it! Like I've tried that, and it didn't work out for me, and just. But this, okay, 3 drone kills while also forcing spores to be made and stuff. That's the Neeb I know. That's the Neeb I think is really damn good. And you were saying it, result back to what you know kind of thing, what you're comfortable with, and it's working.
All right, so far it is. Let's see, there's an Oracle opening. Again, pretty standard stuff. 2 spores on the way for Scarlett, and they should be positioned for Oracles and not Void Rays this time around. The Void Ray will be the follow-up, though, so maybe this is what Neeb has been practicing and what he thinks is worth putting his chips on.
Aha, okay, this is nice. I always love how Protoss is so good at this with the Adept, like shading inside, building the building, and then it is on the correct side of the wall kind of thing. Oh.
Yeah, but the Oracle was actually pulled back, forced back, and forced to be turned on the side of the map of Neeb. So that's definitely not what he wanted. That's a small victory for Scarlett in that sense. You expect the wall from Neeb if you're Scarlett, right? So Neeb with the miscalculation thinks that the links are likely to break through. Is why the only reason why you would ever bring the Oracle back, right?
Yeah, this Oracle is not really able to get much done. There was only one aggressively placed Overlord, which did go down to the Void Ray. So 3rd base starting up. I mean, it's a fairly standard game. It just, you have a Void Ray to defend.
Yeah, and I don't mind that at all. I think a single Void Ray is, this is looking much more like Neeb dropping a normally timed Robo. The single Void Ray, again, is going to be great for denying a lot of potential playstyles like Roaches and Ravagers from being as common on the Zerg side, because it's so difficult to attack with those units without, say, Nidus Queens or a relevant number of Hydras. And Queens are not going to be good enough to take down this Adept, so Neeb strikes another time, getting 2 drones. Nothing more for now, though.
So 4 drones do fall to these 2 Adepts. Scarlett just droning up like a mad woman, by the way. Like, I was kind of like, oh my gosh, where are her lings? She only had 4 lings out in the field, and that's all she made, which, given that she has cleaned up all these Adepts and it was just a Stargate opening, like, she cut so many corners, but it's the correct stuff to be cutting, it looks like, and she's just getting away with it.
Absolutely, and this is what Neeb punished in that first game, but now he has no room to wiggle, right? Like he is on his last legs. If Scarlett wins this, she will win the series. So it's not where you want to put your chips on something like an Immortal All-In, and that's quite possibly what Scarlett is also playing to.
Yeah, and Neeb's moving out with a kind of similar push to what he did earlier in the series, on the one map he won here. So, I mean, Scarlett's probably having some feelings where it's like, oh gosh, this push again? Better get some units ready, because again, opting for Hydras, getting the range upgrades and stuff. She loves the Hydras, man.
Yeah, and you're spot on. This is a push that has a lot of the same units, though it's a baby version of that push, right? It doesn't really have killing potential, it doesn't have even reinforcing potential, but it will force out a lot of units from Scarlett, and that's exactly what Neeb wants alongside canceling this 4th. That's a brilliant move out from him.
And he was doing some Oracle harass in the meantime, which Scarlett's actually been handling the Oracle harass really well in general. Like, the statuses have only grabbed 1 drone at a time, so that's great by her. This push, though, the one that Neeb did do, it felt like that is exactly when Scarlett wanted to be producing units anyhow. Like, she's so decently saturated on these 3 bases.
Yeah, but so is Neeb. I mean, he is keeping up in the worker department. He is also at 70. It's 70 versus 70. So if he can establish a 4th after denying that real estate for Scarlett, you know, he's still in a pretty comfortable position. A little bit of a... Ooh, I think this is unspotted.
Certainly is. That Void Ray, it does do one bit of damage in that it means that you can't have overlords around your base for the Warp Prism.
Yeah, and the Void Ray can really check what the setups are and take advantage of them. So absolutely, I wouldn't have minded for that Warp Prism to be a little bit greedier and to maybe wait for more Warpins or something like that. But of course, that is higher risk as time progresses. Neeb will be taking this 4th now, Ben.
You know, it's one of those things. I look at a Warp Prism and I'm like, oh, that could warp in like 20 Zealots, then you randomly attack, and that could kill a base, right? But I know that these players are too good to leave a shadowed area of their main base for too long, that you have to take advantage of the moment when it's there, right?
Yeah, it's a risk-reward type thing. So it depends on, you know, if you think you're the underdog, perhaps, if you think you're in a good position already, or if you're looking for a miracle comeback, if you're super behind, right? Like, there are definitely situations where you can be like, you know what, let me take the bigger gamble and wait. But yeah, I don't mind what Neeb did going with the 3 Zealots either.
So let's have a look at the numbers. Like, very similar supplies, but normally that's pretty good for a Protoss, especially with the tech that he has. Like, how many? That's 5 High Templar with almost enough Storms for 2 each here. Quite a few Immortals as well. It's going to be hard to engage with Scarlett.
Yeah, and this is Neeb's timing right now if he wants to take it. Like Mapu was pointing out to, there is already a lurker then in production. And I mean, look at the production tab. It's all Scarlett right now, and it has been for a while. She's getting a lot of transitional upgrades, right? So I think she is looking pretty good as long as she can hold here. But look at this, very nice run bys from Neeb, trying to make multiple things happen everywhere.
Ah, and this run by in the natural, killing the Queen, and you see the Hive here, so he knows what he's up against. But all in all, nice defense by Scarlett. She also shut down that Warp Prism, can't get into the main base anymore because he revealed himself earlier.
Yeah, and now she has Overlords in that area as well, so it's gonna be kept easily on check for the time being. The first lurkers of the game are being morphed, and Neeb has to start feeling a little bit of the pressure, and he does. He is okay, though. We talked about this earlier, Ben, as well. Neeb is one of the few Protoss players that feels very, very confidently and has felt very confidently about the Protoss late game, maybe with the exception of the 2 giant Zergs of Europe, right? So this is very interesting because that's where he's headed, and this is, I think, his comfort zone.
He is. So what's his tech of choice here? He's going into like 3 Stargates there, so most likely is it going to be Carrier or Tempest?
I think it has to be Carriers eventually. Carriers, Mothership. I mean, he's getting the air upgrades. A lot of Storm, quite likely, and I wouldn't mind seeing Disruptors like later on just to get rid of things like Infestors with Neuroparasite or even help against these Lurkers.
Lurkers are so big. Like, that is... What a flock of Lurkers. And you can never engage that with any sort of ground army, especially up a ramp like that. Oh,
yeah, you can storm them though. There we go. Oh, yeah. You can storm them from enough of a safe distance that your Templar will only take like 1 hit from the Lurker. Oh, but the adaptive talons are done. Look at this from Neeb though. Very nice run by 11 workers going down. A lot of chaos being caused, and he's gonna bypass the Lurker army and push on 4th. Okay, very important decision from Scarlett here. She's gonna choose to pull back, which basically grants advantage to Neeb. She's just trying to minimize damage at this point. But Neeb's army is where it wants to be.
And also these Lurkers, this is like Saving Private Ryan. They're on the wrong side of the map right now. They want to get home, and Neeb's on a bit of a chase now, just trying to make sure that their journey home is as difficult as possible.
Yeah, will not catch those last 4. Wow, now Neeb might find himself in a similar predicament as Scarlett is pushing in the south. So now Neeb needs to decide if he wants to pull back or go for the counter offense. He needs to decide soon. The army is not moving yet, and he's choosing to pull back. But this will be a very difficult position to dislodge now.
It will, but Neeb's going to come in from multiple angles, it does look like, and some lurkers. Oh, takes out an Archon before anything happens. This isn't Scarlett's full army, is it? She's got another army. Oh, yeah, flanking the flank.
Surely there's something. Yeah, that's what I was waiting for, but it doesn't seem to be happening. Neeb will clear this out, no doubt, but it's gonna cost him a little bit. Those lurkers are clumped up, so the storms are very good. And here's the rest of the lurkers from Scarlett as the first carriers for Neeb arrive, and now Scarlett's gonna have to do something different.
Wait, she has nothing that shoots up here, Cats. Like,
yeah.
This is a lot of lurkers.
She needs something different. Get out.
Okay, and yeah, she realizes that. She's like, oh, you know what? I've got to run away. There's bloody carriers on the field. And yeah, she does get away with most of her lurkers there, but that was definitely some costly trading for her.
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't too bad. It still was expensive for Neeb to get rid of that position. And look at Scarlett is very good out on the map at getting more bases and more economy situated, and is actually taking the double rich Vespene Geyser base as well. So leading later into the game, that could be huge.
Yeah, it definitely could. Like, Scarlett's rich behind all this. Even though she doesn't have a massive bank, she's mining a lot, and she's maxed out.
Yeah.
Oh, this is a lot of lurkers, a lot of Hydras as well. Like, it's very hard to engage it.
Yeah, it's a very difficult position, but the lurkers can burrow, and that offers the Templars a position to storm. So Scarlett has to be very careful. She will take a base for her troubles, and is actively just reinforcing. I love this. This is Sauron Zerg, is what we call this back in Brood, where it's just swarm and swarm and swarm and swarm.
Oh
and
my!
Neeb will tap out.